Pringles aren't really a potato chip because they are made from dehydrated potato flakes pressed together rather than thinly sliced potatoes, so they are a crisp and can't be marketed as a chip. Tom Hanks is a third cousin, 4 generations removed, of Abraham Lincoln. While trying to find a cure for AIDS, the Mayo Clinic made glow-in-the-dark cats. A study once found that, while sober, rats prefer silence, but on cocaine, they prefer jazz. John F. Kennedy's grandmother, Mary Josephine Fitzgerald, not only outlived her grandson, but she was never told about his assassination. The human aorta is the largest artery in the human body, and is about the size of a garden hose. The smallest bone in your body is in your ear. Frank Sinatra inspired the name for the cartoon dog Scooby-Doo. Fred Silverman suggested naming him Scooby-Doo based on the refrain Scooby-Dooby-Doo from Sinatra's song Strangers in the Night. A domestic cat shares 95.6% of its DNA with a tiger. At its peak, the Roman Empire was about 2.5 million square miles, only the 19th largest empire by area in history. Chinese checkers originated in Germany in 1892. A lion's roar can be heard from 5 miles away. Killer whales are dolphins and not whales. They are the largest member of the dolphin family. The weirdest thing about Uranus is that it's sideways. No one knows why. The most obvious theory is it got hit by another planet which knocked it off its center. A cockroach can live a week without its head. They are not dependent on their head or mouth to breathe, but they will eventually die without it because they can't drink and die of thirst. When you die, some companies will put your ashes in fireworks, so you can go out with a bang. In its natural form, aspirin comes from the bark of the white willow tree. On Saturn's moon Titan, humans could fly under their own power with artificial wings. Titan has a very high ratio of atmospheric density to surface gravity. Tennis players can be fined up to $20,000 for swearing while playing at Wimbledon. Only 5% of the ocean has been explored. St. Lucia is the only country in the world named after a woman. There's a 34-year-old chimpanzee named Kanzi that not only knows how to start a fire and cook food, but knows how to make omelets for himself. Thomas Edison taught his second wife Mina Miller Morse code so that they could communicate in secret by tapping each other's hands when their families were around. The Hawaiian alphabet has only 12 letters. The smallest known reptile in the world is the Bruchisia micra, which is so small it can stand on the head of a match. Elephant grass can grow up to 10 feet tall that even elephants can hide in. Recycling just one tin can save enough energy to watch television for 3 hours. Sand from the Sahara is blown by the wind all the way to the Amazon, recharging its minerals. The desert literally fertilizes the rainforest. In ancient Egypt, the Egyptians shaved off their eyebrows to show grief from the death of their cat. There are 100 to 400 billion stars in the Milky Way and more than 100 billion galaxies in the universe. A group of lemurs is called a conspiracy. Most people fart around 14 to 23 times a day. Mandarin is the most spoken language in the world with 1.1 billion speakers. In the Middle Ages, the boys who looked after dogs used for hunting had to sleep in the kennels with them. The scientific name for a fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth is arachibutyrophobia. Watermelon is made up of 92% water. It's actually an excellent choice to stay hydrated and is low in calories. Although the grizzly bear is the official state animal of California, there have been no bears seen there since 1922. Rainbow Bridge in Utah is the world's second tallest natural stone bridge. It is 290 feet high and 234 feet wide. Roughly 45 to 46 million people in the USA rely on food stamps to survive. Approximately 10 to 20% of U.S. power outages are caused by squirrels. McGuire's Irish Pub in Florida has over $550,000 worth of paper money hanging on its walls. In 2018, a new planet was discovered on the outskirts of the solar system called Goblin. A year on Mercury is as long as 88 days on Earth. There is a species of spider called the hobo spider. Every year 10% of businesses in the USA will go bust. The world's first hot dog was made in 1900 in Ohio by Harry M. Stevens. The world's largest solar telescope is located in Sells, Arizona. It is known as McMath Pierce Solar Telescope, and it's making unique solar observations since 1962. More people in the USA are Facebook users than voted in the last election. The USA uses more gasoline than any other country in the world. In her lifetime, the average American woman will spend the equivalent of 8 years shopping. A baby spider is called a spiderling. Venus is flipped upside down. Its top point is its south pole and vice versa. Because of this, Venus spins in the opposite direction to the other planets in the solar system. This is known as retrograde motion. Horned toads can shoot blood from their eyeballs. Jupiter has the shortest day in the solar system, lasting 9 hours and 56 minutes. An owl can hear a mouse more than 50 feet away. The Battle of Hastings didn't actually take place in Hastings. Although it's the second biggest planet in the solar system, Saturn is the least dense. It's so light, it would float on water. The United States Navy uses Xbox controllers for their periscopes. John Couch Adams also used maths to locate Neptune's position, but when he revealed his calculations, he learned that Neptune was already discovered 2 days before. At least 7 moons in the solar system are bigger than Pluto. It is half the size of our moon. The following can be read forward and backward. Do geese see God? The acid in your stomach is so strong that it can dissolve steel razor blades. Camel feet can also be cooked in camel milk. Sea slug is eaten in China and Spain. It's often sold dried and has to be soaked to restore it to its slimy, squishy glory. Water cockroaches are roasted and eaten in China. Leave the wings and legs. If one vampire bat is too ill to leave the cave, another will suck blood all night, then come home and vomit it up over the poorly bat so it doesn't miss out on a meal. 95% of people text things they could never say in person. In 1912, a Paris orphanage held a raffle to raise money. The prizes were live babies. The shortest war on record was the Anglo-Zanzibar War, which lasted a whopping 38 minutes. If you're attacked by a moray eel, the only way to get it off is to kill it, cut the head off and break the jaws. A baby octopus is about the size of a flea when it is born. Doctors used to test for diabetes by tasting the patient's urine. Diabetes made it taste sweet because sugar was lost in it. Cinemas in Colombia serve paper cones filled with giant fried or toasted ants. A sheep, a duck, and a rooster were the first passengers to take a trip in a hot air balloon. A person who drives 10 miles to buy a lottery ticket is 3 times more likely to die in a car accident than winning the lottery. Pigs are physically incapable to look up into the sky. The largest detonated bomb in the world was the Tsar Bomba on October 30th in 1961 by the Soviet Union. The blast was 3,000 times stronger than the bomb used on Hiroshima. Honeybees can recognize human faces. A Russian suicide bomber with the intent of killing hundreds in Moscow on New Year's Eve of 2015 had her plan foiled when her wireless carrier sent her a text message wishing her a happy new year, which triggered her belt bomb, killing her, and her alone. Coca-Cola has made over 3,500 different kinds of beverages. That means that if you drank one per day, it would take over 9 years for you to try them all. In medieval times, bras were called breast bags. Every week, about 50 cats and dogs are transported from Houston to Colorado in order to avoid euthanization. In Uganda, around 48% of the population is under 15 years of age. The logo of Xbox is green-colored because that was the marker pen that designer Horace Luke had at the moment. The Philippines has bread called tasty bread, which is simply a sliced loaf or sandwich bread. Over 200 objects were released into Earth's orbit by the Mir space station during its first 10 years of operation. At its furthest, Mars is 155 million miles from Earth. At its closest, Mars is 34 million miles from Earth. Vatican City has its own football league. The Great Pyramid of Giza has 8 sides, not 4. The Tesla logo is the cross-section of an electric motor. Snoop Dogg was the driver in a drive-by shooting where his bodyguard shot Philip Woldemarion. Both were acquitted for self-defense. President Ulysses S. Grant was given a speeding ticket for driving his buggy, at a furious pace, through the streets of D.C. Norman Ernest Borlaug saved over 1 billion lives through improvements in farming. Television was not introduced to South Africa until 1976. The average male gets bored of a shopping trip after 26 minutes. There are more mobile phone connections than people in the world. There are flowers that smell like chocolate, including the chocolate daisy and the chocolate cosmos. Japan stunned the world in 1905 by handily defeating the much larger Russia Empire and winning significant concessions via the Treaty of Portsmouth, which was mediated by President Roosevelt. In the 16th century, Turkish women could initiate a divorce if their husbands didn't provide them with enough coffee. George Ulrich, an American geologist, fell into lava and survived. If you crack an egg underwater, it looks like a jellyfish.